lots of exciting stuff right now in the commoner space. Not only do we have Rosetta with a whole load of new commons for us to try, but we also have the announcement of the commoner Battle Hardened coming this November in Portland. So today, AshenWingz is joining me, and we're going to play a game of Hot or Not for the commoner format. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, my flesh and blood friends. Welcome back to Dice Commando, and welcome back to Ashenwingz. How's it going, my friend?
Oh, it's going amazing. I'm very, very excited. Rosetta meta for commoners here. And gosh, Runeblade's got so many cool things. And I'm just really, really excited to test some more decks now that some heroes have some new toys to play with. So
absolutely. Yeah, we had our first crawl. We set it up for the day after, or for the Sunday after release. So we've had a Rosetta crawl, but nobody brought Ira, not one person. So we didn't really get like the true, but Chane was freaking everywhere. So
yeah, he's been all over Talishar so far. I've been very, very it's wild. I used to just be running into enigmas left and right on Talishar, but now Chane has made he's always kind of been up there, but now people are playing with like a whole bunch of stuff with him. So I'm very, very excited to see what people can brew up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so how's life been? What have you been up to? Obviously Rosetta, but what else?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much a lot of it has just been constant, more commoner stuff, getting all the deck lists ready for all the new heroes. Well, I mean, as far as that goes, a lot of it has just kind of been getting I opened my first case. That was fun for Rosetta. Got me a lot of stuff for that. And then it's really just like we're prepping for the new Clash event, or the Rosetta season of Clash. So that's just committee stuff for that. But other than that, we're just chilling. We're hanging out. We're enjoying commoner. I'm not spending too much on cardboard. Everything's great.
Yeah, and speaking of rules committees and all that, don't worry, we won't go down that rabbit hole. But I have a lot less poop to be flung at you for banning a card in Clash and Commoner than others' rules committees might face. So
yeah. Well, I'd always love to have a conversation about that if need be, because it's a fun talking point. So
hey, I got to slide it in where I can to get the comments, right? So yeah.
Right.
All right.
But yeah.
No, so what we are going to do today is I actually have I proposed a hot or not. I don't know if that's the right thing, but that's what we called it. So I'm going to throw some quick questions at you about the new commoner meta, or the commoner world that we live in. And you can talk about it in Clash too, if that applies necessarily, if there's something going on there. But so let's go ahead and start with the very first one, which is hot or not. Findall's Fighting Spirit derating makes Iyslander a monster.
Okay, so this was very interesting because obviously Wounded Bull is doing very good in Iyslander right now in Commoner, and while I think this is also I almost feel like it's got to be either a replacement, or you're replacing like other wizard cards for this, because you're not going to get rid of ice cards. That's your key thing for Iyslander. It's what you want. But if I were to swap this for Wounded Bull, the only thing you're really swapping at that point is one life over one value of damage. And both of these are breakpoints in a sense. So you're kind of better off if you're trying to go for that life build, but at the end of the day, it's the same point, just swapped, at least in my personal opinion. So if you're going to, I think we probably see a lot of people try running Wounded Bull and FFS, but I wouldn't think that they'd cut a lot of their wizard tech, because that's kind of what Iyslander does really well at instant speed. So I'm not sure. You're probably only running the yellow, maybe, if not the red, because you're not going to run the blue, I'd imagine. So no reason for you to do any of that.
Yeah, I had somebody was tossing around, and I know it sounds crazy, but blue Aether Ice Vein, cutting that for FFS. was the proposal I'd heard. I know it messes with your pitch curve, or like your number of blues, obviously, but considering that most people are packing AB3 or sometimes AB4, it's actually not a horrible approach, other than if obviously the blue. But they would be running, to your point, it would be yellow FFS.
Yeah. I think it's at least good because, especially with most people teching really hard into AB, because I mean AB3 on most heroes means you're just not having good armor to block, right? So,
but in that commoner,
case, if you're trying to swing it, it's really, really good, and I think it's a worthy spot. It's going to need some testing for sure, but I don't know that it is game breaking for her. I think a lot of people are excited to see it, but I don't know that it's, it's just Wounded Bull, but a point of value in a different direction. So,
okay. All right. Fair enough. So what we're going to say, lukewarm.
Yeah. That's where I'm sitting. It's definitely not a not, but it's also not quite hot.
Right.
So,
okay. Fair enough. It'll be like the temperature of your coffee once we get done talking. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Hot or not, Rosetta's Runeblade support puts Chane at tier 0. Ooh, so that would be above Ira.
Well, okay. So looking at even your most recent Chane video you came out with the deck tech for him, I see a lot of potential with the Rune Chants. I think the biggest thing that Chane got out of this was the fact that you can turn those shackles into Rune Chants. Therefore, you're not losing your deck as fast. Although that is kind of what Chane wants to do. So at the end of the day, it's not quite. It's kind of like a hit or miss situation. But turning a shackle into 3 damage is very, very good. I think this is a very hot situation. I don't know that it puts him above Ira, but I have seen a lot of people now testing with RuneGate Chane because of it. And I think RuneGate Chane is way crazy because you get to do all the things Vincent gets to do, but then get go again and hit Rosetta Thorn. And I think that is going to be a monster to deal with. And if Ira and Iyslander are able to pitch effectively and block effectively like they normally would, you're probably not going to see that big of a problem. But in an aggressive state, getting 3 Rune Chants is very easy now, especially in Commoner. So seeing something like that, I think you're probably ending up. I think you're going to see Chane at some top tables for sure. And I wouldn't even be surprised if it's RuneGate Chane. That's my hot take, because I think RuneGate Chane is definitely in a very powerful spot right now.
Yeah, and RuneGate Chane took down the gold foil at Sydney, is my understanding. They were doing the cussing dirge RuneGate thing. So
that's so good. So good. It's 6 Rune Chants. 6 Rune Chants and then a 7.
Yep.
And go again. It's wild. I think it's a very, very, very good deck. It's almost to the point where it's hitting Blitz numbers of damage in something like Commoner, and I think that is. I don't know that it's going to see anything happen with it, but even still, I think it's a really, really fun thing to do, and I'm just happy to see more Runeblades in top tables for this.
Okay, awesome. So we're gonna go spicy hot on this one.
Yeah, spicy, quite spicy.
All right, next up, hot or not, the shift to aggro AA Chane favors database dash.
Let's see. I wouldn't exactly know if dash database is going to be the answer, I guess. You would at least have some of that, the item disruptions and things like that. But I think if you're playing dash at all, you're probably still just playing regular dash, because getting an equipment out turn 0 is incredibly effective. And while I think things like Boom Grenade and what is that? Not Hadron Collider, the other one that wards like 4 or 5. Is that I can't remember.
Oh yeah,
that one. But
the shields. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like that's cool, but you can also run those in regular dash, right? If you deemed it to be such a big thing in which, like, this chain turns don't even pop off until like turn 3 or 4 in most cases, because then they have more fuel in that banish zone. So I would say Dash Database still has a good place because mech cards are really, really good in common, like really overrate for what they are. But the only thing Dash Database gets over Dash is that you get to put up items from the top of your deck. And I don't know that that is going to be an answer entirely to this. I feel like the answer is still going to be, make sure to outrace them with Dash's insane commoner level of power, and hope that you can close the game in like 4 to 5 turns. Because at that point, if Chane gets to where he needs to be before Dash kills you, then you've already lost at that point, and it's going to be pretty rough moving forward there.
Okay, so we're gonna go with not on this one.
Yeah.
But this is kind of one of my pet decks we've been working on. Shout out to Teak. Shout out to Teak. We've been working on this, and throwing a boom grenade when nobody wants to block is pretty good. So.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a fun time for sure. I don't know that it's just, again, I feel like personally it's far too situational, where if you have it, it's awesome. If you don't, then you're just playing a hero that's just dash, but you didn't get to start with an item.
Fair enough. All right. Hot or not, my old deck, Bravo Pump and Thump, is no longer tier 1.
So does that mean it's tier 0?
No, it's lower.
I think Pump and Thump is still a very consistent game plan. It's definitely something to look out for. Obviously, Dominate is a very powerful keyword in Commoner, especially with the disruptive on hits of Guardian attacks in most cases. So, I mean, Thump is crazy good. But if I'm going to be honest, I think you should not be playing Bravo and instead play Terra. Agreed. I think Terra Thump is way more consistent with the might tokens, and you get access to a talent. And I'm not saying that talent heroes are the only heroes that do good in the game, but having an extra set of cards in a card pool just increase your viability into most of the matchups. And I think that Terra, with getting nearly no tools in Rosetta specifically for themselves, I think the stuff that even came out in his first strike deck is really, really good for his game plan. And again, making a might token, I mean, that's just what Thump wants. It's just that one. You just need one. You just need one extra little bit of power, and that way you can just utilize it for, you can even switch out your Goliath gauntlets for a more defensive armor piece if you're really trying to like change up your game plan. But overall, I think it's in a fairly okay spot. But I think Terra definitely took the Pump and Thump tier over Bravo now.
I agree 100%. So I'm going to say that that's hot. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not hot that he's not hot, but
right.
It is what it is.
It's not hot that he's hot. Not. Yeah.
Hot. He's hot, not hot. All right. All right. Next up, hot or not, Rosetta's Oops All Zaps moves Kano from 0 to hero.
This is a not for me, honestly. I think the ability to do a bunch of this surge stuff is really, really cool, but a lot of heroes tech into AB pretty well, and most tend to run AB3 into wizards. And I don't think there are many cases in which you are getting 7 arcane damage on a zap while also being able to play it at instant speed and not have it be like the only thing you're doing. If you're trying for like maybe a weird go tall Kano, that might be an interesting situation, but I still don't think there's enough for him in that situation to still get the surge abilities. Mm-hmm. If some of these didn't have surge and it was just like, cool, when this deals arcane damage, gain 2 resources, it wouldn't be a common. And 2, it certainly would bring him up pretty heavily in that realm, because that's just more Kano triggers being able to pop off the top. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't have too much reps into Kano, whether it be playing him or playing against him. But I don't know that the things that came out in Rosetta are what's going to make him better. I still think Iyslander just does it all better.
Yeah, I think that's probably true, but what if I were to tell you that our Commoner Crawl 5 rounds was won by a Kano who went 5-0?
Honestly, and I believe it. I believe it honestly, because it's one of those situations where either people aren't ready for him or they're ready for him. And there are things you can still do in Kano that are not just based around his hero power. You know, if you told me the person who won the Commoner Crawl ran FFS and Wounded Bull, and also like everything Iyslander would, except just you got to do fast, instant speed, arcane damage on your opponent's turn, then I'd believe you, right? That's something that you can do in Commoner. It's one of the best things about Commoner is that you don't have to adhere to strictly a theme of the hero and what its hero text does. You can just add things that look efficient and play efficiently, and it works. But I mean, I'd love to see the list, because I would want to know whether or not these surge abilities actually got off, because that would be super cool to see. I'd love to see more wizards in the top than just Iyslander.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I played against the deck. It was spicy.
Oh, there you go.
All right. So moving on is going to break some people's hearts out there, I think. But hot or not, the Decimator builds are sidelined again.
I think this is slightly lukewarm. And the reason it's slightly lukewarm is because I feel like Decimator has always kind of been that like tier 2-ish. Like it's like kind of almost tier 1, tier 2. And it's just because you want to still efficiently block really well in most cases in Commoner, because you only have 20 life and you want to preserve it as best as possible. You're playing that value game throughout the entirety of it. Decimator takes all the like Earth heroes that just came out with wanting to, you know, just like try to block to then get Earth cards engraved to then banish them. Decimator says, okay, your Earth cards only block for 2 already, so now they only block for 1. And people are going to want to put their Earth cards in grave. So that's going to end up being a case for them. They're just going to throw cards. It ends up being really, really rough. I think this is also great for the Enigma matchup, personally, because you get to leak that little 1 damage. And the only thing Enigma has going for her as far as her, like the way she wins, is that spectral manifestation with that 1 spectral shield. So if you can leak 1 damage through every single turn, Decimator is a great choice. But you hard lose to Iyslander, I think, personally. And then I think also Ira is just far too efficient with her resources for you to still have that happen. And I think that you're playing a lot of blues into Runeblades, so that's at least nice. But the Runeblades probably aren't willing to block. And so you're going to double felling swing them somehow, you're probably just going to get run over. And so I think it's also just kind of back to tier 2, but I'm still scared of this card. I mean, it's still value regardless of how however you swing it, it's value. You got just regular 4 damage. It's a breakpoint that your opponent's going to have to block efficiently for. If you pump it to 10 or to 7, it's another breakpoint that now they have to block with like almost 3 cards instead of just 2. So it's a very, very good card, very good weapon, but you just got to make sure that you're not going to be resource starved at the end of it, and you should be fine.
All right. I think that is it. That is it in terms of the questions I had for you. But now we can move on to the next part of the conversation. Battle Hardened at Calling Portland in November is a commoner event. How hot or not?
Dude, that's hot. That is muy caliente. That is so good. I think it is something that I've personally been waiting for. It's made me super jealous that I can't even go to Portland for this. But
it's an hour and a half flight, man.
I know, but I can't get the time. I'm gonna try my best to make it work, and if I can, you'll see my face there. But it is a super awesome thing to see other formats getting some love through the Battle Hardens, because already with it being a gold foil commoner event, I think those are great, and that is essentially just that is a Battle Hardened in and of itself. But this is a true to form Battle Hardened. This is where, if you're dropping from the calling in Portland, you can just pick up a $10 deck and go play in the commoner event, or already have it set up with the bulk you have at home. Like, there's so much testing. I've seen so much testing on Talishar in different groups about people getting ready for this event, because it is, I would imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, the biggest commoner event to ever be run is this. And so it's great that it's happening, right near you. So that's so fun, and I think it's gonna really shine a lot of light on the commoner format, especially if it's streamed, although I'm not sure if it is. But it's going to shine a lot of light on people who are just looking at, who might have not understood what the power level of commoner is, because there's still a lot of back and forth. It's a very tight game most of the time, and there's not just, while Ira and Iyslander have kind of been in the top for a while, they're not the only boogeyman of the format. There's a plethora of heroes that can just sneak their way in, especially with a new set just releasing. There's an entire meta to discover. So it's going to be a super awesome time. I really, really can't wait to see the results of that.
Yeah, so you're right. To my knowledge, this is the largest, or the high, because it's the first tiered event, right? It's a tier 4 event, right? So it's the largest of that, but just naturally. We haven't seen the schedule yet, so I don't know if there will be a gold foil that weekend. I would guess maybe not, but there could be on Saturday. But I don't know. Yeah, this is
That'd be cool.
This is so to your point, right? If you're going to, it's going to bring potentially a whole new swath of individuals to it, because you've got pros, right? You could have pros playing commoner, which is kind of funny to think about, right?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong, commoner players, I think you're all pros in my eyes, first and foremost. But it is going to be interesting, right? Yeah. Give them that heart. I think it's just going to be interesting to see what classic constructed players who may have never played commoner a day in their life take the opportunity to just slam some commons together of a deck that they enjoyed in classic constructed in the past, or maybe they enjoy it currently in classic constructed, or maybe they played it with Blitz at some point. Maybe it's just their favorite hero overall, and just throw it into a format that they have not had any testing into, and see how well they do, and see if it's really that, because I personally, playing commoner, I always view it to be a completely different game plan than classic constructed, right? Classic constructed, you can take a little bit and you can throw back some, and it's a lot more of that general give and take. With commoner, your one mistake could be it, right? You could be done for the rest of the game. And it is insane to think that from a commoner perspective, that it's that brutal of a format if you're not aware of what is being teched into it. Because again, you could be playing like all generics Kano, and you'd never know, right? You'd never know until you were sitting across from them. So it's a very interesting place. And, if you've seen the dumpster dive stuff that is happening on LSS's, articles on their on Flesh and Blood's main channel, it is really, really cool to see everybody just put in their weird jank builds and things they've won with. And I just love it. I love the community about it. And I think it's going to be really cool to see pros take the opportunity to try and win some cool prizes there.
Do you think that we will see innovation at that event, or do you think that it will be largely just, by and large, there's a lot more net decking in Flesh and Blood than a lot of other games, because it's hard, right? So yeah. Do you think we'll see some innovation at that, or do you think that by then everything will kind of be stomped out?
I think the only real kind of innovation we'll see is certainly from the people who have been playing commoner for a while, right? I'm assuming a lot of the people who go to your commoner crawl are going to be the ones innovating for things like this. I don't know that I think a lot of people, we just recently, I can't remember what event happened where two Iras were battling each other. The partners, Zuppy and Sin, I think is what their tags are. They just both were on Ira. And I think that's a lot of people look at events and they see okay, Ira won, Iyslander won, Chane won. If I'm trying to win a gold foil, which one of these do I play, which is more efficient? And I feel like from a competitive perspective, that's what we're going to see. Is we're probably going to see a lot of people just go, okay, how do I spike this tournament? Let's play Ira. Or how do I spike this tournament? Maybe Ira is, somebody from a more classic constructed professional standpoint knows how to beat Ira better than the people in the commoner format, and will tech accordingly to that. But there's not a lot of leeway when it comes to deck building in commoner because you're only stuck with commons. So it's not something that I believe is going to be innovated at least too much. But I do believe that, especially with the new set, we're going to see some spicy things. I would like to see how Briar even fares into this with all the new cards that just came out for her. Because making an embodiment on hit and then being able to make embodiment of lightnings after, I think she does it better than the two Runeblades that came out in Rosetta. But that's just because she's, OG Elemental Runeblade. She gets it done.
Yeah, interesting. I've been trying to make her work actually, but I've been struggling. I still end up on Stir My Wildwood. So
yeah, it's good. The card's good. I mean, I'm looking to play it even in Classic Constructed. I think Classic Constructed. I was building a Florian deck list that had Stir the Wildwood, and I was just like, this is just pure value out of this thing. Why would you not play Stir the Wildwood? So I don't know. I mean, again, I'm very curious to see what we see in Commoner, because there's going to be with a whole new set of cards, because most of the cards that are released for a new set are uncommon. We get to see a lot of that innovation because of the new tech into certain things. At least we don't get to see a Count Your Blessings commoner deck though, so that's good.
Yeah, it'll be derated in set number 18. No.
Gosh, I hope we don't. That, what? That's my hot take. That's my hot take for you here. How do you think CYB would do in commoner? Do you think it would be something that is just absolutely terrifying, or do you think it's something that can be stopped?
I mean, that value of math in commoner that's a lot.
Right.
So I think you would see everyone move to Oldham maybe becomes just crazy good.
Yeah.
Right. Ira, I think, would still be okay because you still have just the Kodachi wall. I mean, we had our armory last night, and this was cost constructed, but we had our armory last night, and I brought new because I was preying on CYB decks. I was unfortunately a CYB deck myself, but if you did, I think new or Arachne actually would do well. Just throw 0-4 contracts all day long, right, and just grind. So I think I think you'd see a huge meta shift. But I don't want to sit down and play a 25-30 minute commoner game. It's not what I signed up for.
No, if my commoner game goes to time, I'm mad about it. I'm gonna give you the draw. That's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna make sure we get a draw if we're doing this in something like a Battle Hardened or a gold foil event.
Yeah. I mean, that is what it is, and that gets some people all spun up. But your commoner game should take 10 to 15 minutes, right? So
right, should not be a lot. It is fairly. Most of it should just be sit down, hang out with people, enjoy your time with the format. Just play around with cool things that you didn't get to play around with because other cards have better value in other formats. And so you're not running some of the generics that you normally run. I mean, Surging Militia in Ira is, this sees no play anywhere and except Ira's commoner deck. And so it's really cool to see that, again, there's just that fun little spice that everybody can put in their deck because they don't have those instant staples in you would in a Blitz deck or something.
But we have CC Ira coming, so maybe Surging Militia. I'm guessing no. It still seems better to throw CNC.
Yeah, I think it's still better to throw CNC for sure. But don't get me wrong, right? I mean, I think everybody who's been playing Commoner Ira for this long they've got the reps. I mean, they know what they're doing, and I think that it's something that can be translated. That's another cool thing, is I think it's something that can be translated really well into Classic Constructed, because she's just pure value. It's just every, CNC for 7. Like that's good. That's crazy good. All
right. So with the last question I'll ask you, back to Battle Hardened Portland. So obviously they are, they've talked about how when they go into a new market, they're basically doing a test, right? I mean, this Battle Hardened being commoner is a pilot of sorts, right? To see how many people show up, if it's successful. It's no accident, right, that it's being piloted in Portland, which is, between myself and Travis and stuff, has kind of become a commoner mecca. So it's no accident, right? Or at least I believe it not to be an accident. So what does success look like? Is it just raw numbers? Because I mean, that's the finances, so that has to be part of it. But what does success look like?
I think overall, and I can't speak for LSS obviously on this matter, because from a business perspective, I would think the numbers do count. I would think that the numbers for a Battle Hardened for commoner can escalate to have more of these events occurring throughout the world, right? Maybe, they make a fun commoner gold foil event for the LGS level for people to start doing more commoner at their LGS, or something of the sort to broaden its horizon to be at more of these organized play events. I think that places all across the world play commoner, and so I think you could see Battle Hardens even in places in Europe and in Asia, because they're just trying to broaden the formats. So I do think numbers are a really, really big thing here, because you want to get that, but you also have to imagine the numbers are skewed a bit, because the amount of people that get dropped out of a calling on day one are pretty high. And so if that number is just people are playing commoner because it's the only other thing available and not because they like commoner, it's
a fair point.
It's a little bit of a skewed ratio there. But I do believe that if at the end of the day, everybody walks out of that commoner event with a fun experience and goes online and talks about commoner, right? You see a whole bunch of Twitter posts about commoner and how cool the event was and so on and so forth. Word of mouth and that kind of expression of how much they enjoyed the format is, I really think, what LSS is looking for. I think that is going to be something that they're going to be able to go, cool. I don't think they're going to be designing cards strictly around commoner now, because that's not something I imagine is going to happen. They make everything that is a common more so for their limited, and then it's up to us in commoner to change things around in our decks. But I do think that if there's a lot of good responses from people who were playing in commoner into the Battle Hardened on, whether it be through Twitter or Tumblr or whatever you're using, YouTube, I think that's going to definitely help out a lot more from a business perspective, to know that people enjoyed this format a lot and they want to see more of it. Because that's also the same thing that happened with the LL format. People enjoyed that format to the point where they went, we really want to put a lot of effort into this. And now obviously that was from allow people to enjoy their favorite hero format. So I think that's probably what they're looking for more in the situation than just numbers, but I think numbers will also help. So that'll be good.
Yeah, and you brought up an interesting point earlier on in this video about streaming. I don't know that it will be streamed because obviously the top 8 will be going on, but usually at these events, they've had 2 tables. I guess maybe that's just like the Pro Tours. I don't know if they always have 2 tables. Actually, that's fair. Yeah.
I mean, do we know if Mansand's going?
I don't know for sure, but I mean, I guess I just assumed. So Nathan, his partner Nathan Dolman lives here, so I just assumed that whether it's Mansant or not, I'd assume there would be coverage for that. I mean, the calling will have, like, it's their 50th calling. They're going all out for it. The calling will be covered, right? The question is, you bring up a fair point on whether or not. Yeah, that's fair.
Well, you know what you have to do. You got to set up a tripod, get it up there, and then just record the videos of the top 8, and at least get the finals. That would be awesome. And then everybody can just grab that footage, throw it online, and it can just be a post live stream thing. Because I think that's the other thing too, is most people don't get to see the games of Commoner. Most people just know that this person won. But you know, if you're in the Commoner format and in the Commoner community already, you know why they won, because you know, in the purple Discord, usually the winner will pop on in there and they'll talk about their deck and how they won and all this stuff, and then there's usually an article for them on the article for the calling event that happens. But it's nothing usually more than this is what the deck did, this is how they won, like that's it. But there's a whole story behind these players and how they got there and how they decided to tech in, you know, one copy of Aether Icevein Red over two because they wanted to put in something else, right? Like there's a ton of again, that innovation in Commoner, and in most cases that doesn't get highlighted or spotlighted even. So I think that is something that even if it's just, you know, myself or you, and we can grab some of the winners in the top 8 and throw them on here and have them talk about their deck lists and how they enjoyed the format. And I think it's at least something that can be done to bring more eyes to the format for sure. But if it ends up getting streamed, that's cool, right? Good on you for whoever is planning on streaming the Commoner event for us here at online.
I'll put on the blazer and let the internet tell me why I have bad takes. Do that anyway. Just without a blazer, just with a hoodie instead of a blazer. So
yeah, just with a hoodie. Oh my goodness. Well, you know what? It's at least you got to take, right? And that's all that's important. You've got stake in the matter, and so takes are takes.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Well, I was going to ask if you were coming out, but you already said maybe.
Yeah, it's a maybe. It's a very, very, very loose maybe. I'll have to make sure to see how much PTO I have by that time, but I certainly want to go. Trust me. If there weren't a range of mountains in between myself and Portland, I certainly would just probably be able to drive there. But I think I could probably swing a flight.
Drive.
I've done it many times. Long drive. Yeah, but at the end of the day, I'll definitely keep the people apprised if I end up going, because this is the first ever Battle Hardened for Commoner, and I think it's, if you're a fan of Commoner and you're even planning to go to the calling at all, it's something to at least pop in and hang out, even if you're just like watching the games and seeing how it is. I think it's gonna be a fun time, and if you're able to go, I do suggest going, because you're gonna see a swath of different heroes and people just playing their favorites, and it's gonna be a very pure, not quite meta-centric until it gets to the top 8 of like people enjoying the format, and that's gonna be nice.
Yeah, awesome. Well said. All right. Well, before we sunset this thing, any hot takes or not takes? Or any shout outs you want to give?
Let's see. I don't really have too many hot takes. I think we're in a pretty okay. I mean, we've been in a kind of okay spot for a while. I think the best thing I've liked to see is that there's new heroes into the top tables every single time, because everybody at this Commoner event, don't let Ira win. That's it. That's my hot take. Don't let Ira win, because there are ways to beat her. She's not unstoppable. You can do it. Just run her over. And that's it. That's my hot take.
Actually, that's a good point. I know I'm bringing us back in, but to success, I think it would be, I think it would hurt its success if it's like 6 Iras in the top 8. I think that would, that would hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm hoping doesn't happen. I'm hoping that we don't see something, because that was, you know, everybody saw the LL format when it first dropped, and it was 8 Starvos, and people went, wow, really? Why are we playing this format if it's going to be the same hero? And I know I have there's at least going to be 2 to 4 Iras in the top 8 if I were to take a swing at that, and have that be my hot take, because she is just incredibly value centric. She didn't lose like anything at all ever, and so she just does really, really good, and she's got probably some of the best value of any of the heroes in Commoner. But this is all just, again, based on whether or not a pro player takes a look at the commoner meta and goes, yeah, Ira wins. Okay, cool, I'll play it. And then you have 50 people entering into the Battle Hardened on Ira. And now if it's like 75% of the people who are playing in the Battle Hardened are playing Ira, your odds are way bigger. So I definitely don't want to see that. But, you know, if it ends up being the case, we all know that Ira's good in the format. So it makes sense to play her. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but it does make sense to play her if you are looking for a hero that you are looking to play in a format you might not know anything about.
Yeah, I think we could take 3, right? That would be perfect, as if it was like 3 Iras, 2 Chanes, an Enigma, a Decimator, and then like, oh, well, I'm leaving out Iyslander. But either way, right? It'd be nice to see like at 3, if we could get 4 heroes in the top 8 at whatever quantity.
I agree.
I think that'd be good.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'd be very happy with a 4 to 5 hero spread in the top 8. That would be something that would at least show that there is more to the format than just Ira and Iyslander. Like there's so much more, I promise you. And it's going to seem like you're going to go against a lot of people who are probably going to play Ira or Iyslander, but it's not the only thing in the meta. Things change every single set. Every set, there's tons of commons that get released. And so even if it's like this now, it might not be like this in the next set. The next set might come out and, Ira could have gotten absolutely demolished by somebody else who can just provide better value. So it's all based on time, but luckily Commoner gets updates to its format every single set, essentially. So you're never in that much of a stale meta, unless, like, of course, you're playing Commoner every single week, and then you're probably playing into the same heroes most of the time. But hopefully you're at least still having fun, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, and if it does end up on like a tier 4 circuit, they would. I mean, we've been getting on average 1 update, like 1 ban cycle a year, right? It's basically what we've been seeing. I mean, it is conceivable that even though, like, let's say they put 6 Iras in the top 8, and they decide, okay, we're never going to do a Commoner again, at least we'll probably get a ban or 2 out of it.
Hopefully. I mean, hey, you know what? You could just. That's my hot take. How does everybody feel about banning Kodachis on Ira? Just Ira couldn't use Kodachis. Would that make her less effective than how she is right now? Because that would be that could be a place to hit. I don't know too much else in regards to it. I think the value of Kodachis on her is what really makes her insanely strong. So
yeah, but that's a whole different cast, because I got opinions on that. So
yeah. Well, then we don't have to get into it here, but I'd love to hear from everybody in regards to that, because it's a fun talking topic for sure.
All right, my friend. Well, thank you so much for making time on your Sunday morning. It's nice that we're so close in time zone. It makes it easier to coordinate. But
yeah.
Anything else before we get out of here today?
Just keep having fun, guys. Keep enjoying the game as it is. Just enjoy the game. Enjoy yourselves. Just remember, have fun. Have fun in the flesh and blood. That's kind of the big concept for all of this. Because if you're not having fun, why are you playing? That's it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And you got to say it with me, my friend.
All right.
Go Commando.
Go Commando.
Go Commando. Oh, that's true. Go Commando. Fair point. I'll do it again.
All right.
Go Commando.
Go Commando.